Revealed. My incredible escape from an unexpected plan to change my life forever. Nora Thompson stood behind the counter of Thompson's diner, her father's legacy weighing heavily on her shoulders. The aroma of sizzling bacon and brewing coffee wrapped around her like a comforting blanket, but the reality of looming bills and a soulless corporate chain made her stomach churn. How had it come to this? This diner, the heart and soul of their small Midwestern town, was more than just a business. It was where laughter echoed, friendships blossomed, and memories were etched into the very fabric of its aging walls. She flipped burgers with a practiced hand, forcing a smile as regulars filed in, eager for their morning dose of pancakes and the warmth of her presence. "Morning, Nora," called Mrs. Jenkins, her silver hair shimmering like diamonds in the morning sun. Nora's heart squeezed. Every smile meant so much to her. But today felt different. There was a whisper in the town. Rumors of a corporate entity planning to bulldoze everything she held dear. Just as despair began to suffocate her hopes, the diner door swung open, and Jake entered, a ghost from her past. His military uniform clung to him like armor, and the looks exchanged between them spoke louder than words. They hadn't spoken since their father's funeral, a bond masked in bitterness and grief. She watched as he scanned the diner filled with familiar faces, his eyes softened by nostalgia and unyielding pain. "Hey, Nora," he said, his voice low and tentative, as if afraid the walls would shatter from the weight of their shared history. She nodded, wrestling with emotions threatening to overwhelm her. That night, as she lay awake, shadows danced across her mind. She saw the diner as it had been, lively, buzzing with life, a sanctuary. Could she truly watch it slip away? Just then, a memory struck her, the late-night talks with her father, filled with dreams of keeping the diner running, of helping their community stand tall against adversity. Then the unexpected ally appeared. An elderly woman, Mrs. Hargrove, approached her with urgent news the next morning. "Nora, sweet girl, you won't believe what I found out." The weight of her words sank in. This corporate chain wasn't just a competitor. They exploited workers, forcing locals out of jobs. "We need to fight back," Mrs. Hargrove implored, her eyes sparkling with a fire Nora thought had long been extinguished. The urgency sparked a flicker of hope in Nora. Could they truly rally the town? "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." As word spread, the diner buzzed with whispers of rebellion and togetherness. The community was ready to band together, ready to protect what was theirs. Nora's heart soared at the thought of it. But was she truly ready to forgive Jake? Their unresolved issues hung thick in the air, mingling with the smell of fried food. Tomorrow was crucial as they planned a meeting, a stand to protect their beloved diner, but Nora couldn't shake off the foreboding feeling that this battle was only the beginning. Would she finally find a way to bridge the gap with her brother? Or were their differences too deep to heal? The stakes were high, not just for the diner, but for everything they had ever held dear. As she prepared to face the unyielding tide of corporate greed, Nora felt a fierce resolve growing within her. The sun rose over Thompson's diner, casting a warm glow through the windows. Nora felt the weight of anticipation pressing down on her as she arrived early, her heart racing with resolve. Today would change everything, whether for better or for worse. The familiar sounds, the sizzle of the griddle, the gentle clattering of dishes were both comforting and haunting. Regulars began trickling in, filling the booths, laughter bouncing off the walls. They whispered among themselves, their eyes shining with purpose. Everyone knew today was not just about breakfast. It was about standing strong against the looming threat. Nora served pancakes and coffee, her smile bright but feigned. Every thank you felt like a reminder of what she stood to lose. Jake arrived just before the planned meeting. He looked sharper somehow. The uniform emphasized his strength. Yet it couldn't hide the pain in his eyes, the pain of a past they both shared but never spoke about. "Nora," he said, taking a seat at the counter, "I heard about the meeting. I want to help." His voice was a low rumble, steady but broken by unspoken words. She glanced at him, her heart fluttering with confusion. "I appreciate that, Jake," she replied, her tone cautious. "But our last conversation, it didn't go well. Let us not go after each other again. Today isn't about us," he urged, but his voice softened. "It's about the diner. About Dad." Nora felt the air grow thick with raw emotion. Their father's absence wrapped around them like a fog, reminding them of the dreams he had for this place. When the meeting began, the diner was packed. Faces of neighbors she'd known since childhood filled the room. Nora stood at the front, heart hammering. "Thank you all for coming," she began, her voice quavering at first before finding its strength. "This diner has always been ours, built on love, friendship, and the spirit of this community. We can't let it slip away." An impressive wave of murmurs surged through the crowd, eagerness sparking like electricity. Mrs. Hargrove took the floor next, rallying the crowd with stories of the diner's glory days, highlighting the laughter, tears, and celebrations it had witnessed. One by one, people shared their stories of first dates, family gatherings, and the moments that marked their lives, all centered around Thompson's diner. Nora felt invigorated as hope swept through her. But just as the energy peaked, a hardened man in a crisply ironed suit entered the diner, and a nervous hush fell over the crowd. He looked over the room, his eyes calculating and cold. "I'm here on behalf of the corporate chain," he announced, his voice dripping with authority. "We need to talk." The atmosphere shifted. Hearts sank as the weight of his presence pressed heavily against their hopes. Nora clenched her fists, adrenaline coursing through her veins. This was it, the moment they had all feared. She could almost hear her heart pounding in defiance. "Listen," she stepped forward, her voice steady but fueled by fire. "We're not going to just roll over for anyone. This diner belongs to us, all of us." The suit crossed his arms, unimpressed. "You think a few sentiments will stop a business? This is a losing battle." Something inside Nora snapped at his callousness. She glanced towards Jake, and their eyes met with unspoken understanding. They both had everything to lose, but the fight for their diner, their home, was worth it. As the meeting erupted into heated discussion, Nora felt the tide begin to turn in their favor. Voices raised, determination ignited, and suddenly the diner became a fortress. Jake reached for her hand, offering an anchor she desperately needed. "Whatever happens, we face this together," he whispered. But as the corporate representative smirked, Nora couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of a difficult fight. Would they find the strength to battle the giants threatening their sanctuary? Could this diner endure the storm? Or would the spirit of Thompson's fade into the past, forgotten like a whisper on the wind? The tension in the diner thickened, murmurs giving way to a palpable unease. The corporate representative leaned against the counter, an embodiment of everything Nora feared. He surveyed the room, evaluating the impact of his arrival. "You really think you can fight this?" His smirk sent a chill down her spine. "You don't know us," Nora said, her voice carrying more confidence than she felt. "We're a community. We don't back down easy." Others nodded in agreement, but doubt lingered behind some eyes. The specter of loss loomed large, and Nora could see it. Their hesitance was a vulnerability. If she had any chance at winning this battle, she needed to inspire them, to fan the flames of their courage. "Everyone in this room has built something here," she continued, drawing on shared memories. "This diner isn't just a building. It's where we shared our lives, where we learned to connect, to grow, to heal. Do we really want to hand it over to someone who sees it solely as a profit margin?" An old man at the back, Mr. Johnson, spoke up. "Nora's right. My wife and I came here every Saturday for breakfast for 30 years. This place is family." A wave of voices surged forth with fervor, igniting the room. "You can't put a price on what this diner brings to our lives," Mrs. Hargrove added, her voice quivering with passion. Nora felt her strength grow. Their unity was like a tide rising, pushing against the looming threat. Even Jake appeared invigorated, his grip tightening around her hand as he urged her forward. But the corporate man remained unfazed, flicking ash from his cigarette like he dismissed their passion as easily as a flick of the wrist. "Sentimentality won't save you from this," he interjected, determined to drown their fire. "Maybe not," Jake shot back, "but it gives us a reason to fight." As the voices blended into a chorus of defiance, Nora suddenly felt an idea forming, a way to truly unite her neighbors and rally their spirits. What if we didn't just stand here and argue? What if we showed them the heart of Thompson's diner? Let us hold a community event. Invite everyone. Show them what we're made of. The crowd buzzed with renewed excitement. A festival? A fundraiser? Someone shouted. Yes, Nora exclaimed. A celebration of what this diner means to us. We'll gather stories, share music, and show them the love we have here. Let us prove our value is greater than their offers. Jake pulled her closer, his eyes gleaming. I'll help you organize it, he said with a grin. But before she could respond, the corporate man stepped forward. You think a little event can save this place? You're wasting your time. Anger coursed through Nora. It's not just about saving it. It's about reminding ourselves what it means. This diner is more than a business to us. He rolled his eyes, but uncertainty flickered in his gaze. They were striking a nerve. The crowd began to roar, their excitement overtaking their fears. As the seeds of an idea took root, Nora's energy shifted. She could feel the tide turning in her favor. It was a spark, but it had the potential to ignite a wildfire of change. But as plans began to unfold, Nora couldn't shake the feeling that the corporate representative wouldn't go down without a fight. She glanced back at him, his sardonic smile still planted firmly on his face. What would he do next? Would their plan be met with resistance? Nora felt the heavy weight of anticipation mix with hope. The stakes were higher than ever, and the thought of what could go wrong made her breath hitch in her chest. This was just the beginning. Could they rally together and make their vision a reality? Or would the glint of corporate greed snuff it out before it even took flight? Nora felt a rush of adrenaline as she left the diner that day, determination coursing through her veins. The vibrant chatter of her neighbors echoed in her mind, each voice a thread woven into the fabric of Thompson's diner. It wasn't just the clinking of silverware or the smell of freshly brewed coffee that mattered. It was the stories, the laughter, the shared moments that had built a community. As she walked home hand in hand with Jake, she could already envision the festival unfolding. Music would fill the air, and laughter would dance around the tables. They could set up booths showcasing local talents, potters, painters, bakers. Everyone had something to offer. But deep down, Nora felt the pressure mounting. She couldn't shake the feeling that this corporate man wouldn't make it easy for them. What's on your mind? Jake asked, glancing sideways. His concern was palpable. Just thinking about how we'll pull this off. We need everyone committed. And I know I can't do it alone. Jake squeezed her hand. You won't have to. We'll gather everyone. This is what the diner is about, people coming together. Trust me. His confidence was infectious. She took a deep breath and nodded. She needed to stay focused on the mission. The diner wasn't just a part of their lives. It was a lifeline in a world that sometimes felt cold and distant. That evening they set to work organizing a community meeting. Nora created flyers and posted them around town. Save the diner. Join us for a festival. She wrote in bold letters. The words felt charged with hope. As days passed, a buzz of excitement filled the town. People began volunteering. Mrs. Hargrove offered her famous pies for dessert. Mr. Johnson was eager to share his old-timey music skills. Even the teenagers, who often seemed disconnected, rallied together to compile stories from patrons, capturing what the diner meant to them. But lurking in the background, the corporate man remained a constant thorn in her side. He ambled into the diner, observing their preparations, his presence casting shadows over their growing enthusiasm. You really believe this will make a difference? He taunted. Nora felt a mix of anger and fear. We're not giving up without a fight. You'll see. One cold morning, Nora received a letter from the corporate office. Her heart raced as she tore it open. The words leaped off the page, but they weren't the hopeful tidings she sought. They were threatening, an official notice of intent to move forward with their plans. We'll see you at the meeting next week, it concluded ominously. Nora's resolve wavered. Panic bubbled beneath her calm facade. She gathered her friends in the back of the diner that night, their faces illuminated by the warm glow of string lights. They mean business, she said, her voice trembling. But we have to stick together. Jake stood beside her, steadying her. We can't let them intimidate us. Look how far we've come. We'll put on the best festival this town has ever seen. Their commitment shone through his words, and slowly, Nora felt her spirit lift. You're right. This is our moment, She told them all that as plans simmered and the festival loomed closer. The weight of the upcoming corporate confrontation loomed over them. Would their efforts be enough to sway the board? With the threat ever present, every task felt urgent, every moment vital. And as Nora stood at the diner's window watching the setting sun paint the sky, she knew that the real test was yet to come. But would their community be able to leverage this festival into a weapon strong enough to confront the impending tidal wave of corporate greed? The answer lingered in the air, waiting to unfold. The day of the big meeting arrived, heavy with anticipation and a cloud of unspoken fears. Nora stood in front of the mirror, adjusting her hair, giving herself one last pep talk. She could see the uncertainty swimming in her eyes, despite the fiery determination in her heart. "You've got this, Nora," she muttered to herself. "This is for the diner. For everyone." Jake was waiting for her by the door, his expression a mix of worry and resolve. "Ready?" he asked, his voice steady. "Ready," she replied, taking a deep breath. The weight of her community rested on her shoulders, and somehow it felt both empowering and crushing at the same time. As they took the short walk to the town hall, the streets thrummed with a nervous energy. Community members were already gathering, their faces reflecting a shared commitment, a united front. Friends greeted each other with whispered encouragements, eyes glinting with both hope and uncertainty. "Look," Jake pointed to a group of teenagers holding handmade signs. They read, "Save Thompson's Diner," and "We love our diner." The sight warmed Nora's heart. It reminded her why they were fighting. Inside the town hall, the room was packed. The comforting smell of home-cooked meals wafted through the air, a scent that made Nora's stomach growl and her heart ache for the familiar comfort of the diner. A small podium stood at the front, and as the buzz of chatter settled, the corporate man stepped forward, slick and polished. His presence seemed larger than life, intimidating. "Thank you all for coming," he started, his voice smooth as silk. "I understand the love you have for this establishment, but change is inevitable. We have plans that will benefit the community in ways you can't imagine." Nora could barely stifle her anger. He spoke about progress as if it were a gift when it felt like a threat. Raising her hand, she stood up, heart pounding in her chest. "Excuse me," she called out, her voice ringing clear. "This diner isn't just a building. It's a home. A refuge. It's where we come together." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. The corporate man narrowed his eyes but maintained a smug composure. "Sentiment doesn't pay the bills, Nora. You think a festival will save it?" She hadn't anticipated the wave of skepticism that followed, but she clawed her way through it. "No, but it showcases our community's heart. We're not just here for coffee. We're here for one another. We want to preserve something that means so much." As she spoke, sparks of recognition flickered in the eyes of those seated. An old veteran raised a fist and shouted, "She's right. We need to fight for what's ours." Soon, hands were lifted in agreement. Old and young, they were sensing a collective strength in the moments rushing by. Nora could feel the energy shift in the room, her heart echoing the rhythm of hope. But just as she dared to believe, she caught the corporate man's gaze. His eyes held a cold promise of retaliatory battle, and a tremor of fear darted through her. Minutes turned to hours as arguments sprang back and forth, some weary voices dampening the enthusiasm, and others igniting it like fireworks. Finally, they reached a moment of voting. Would they support Nora and Jake's festival plan? With trepidation, they raised their hands, the count slowly revealing an undeniable result. They were committed. But before Nora could fully celebrate, she noticed the corporate man slip a sly grin, his fingers tapping lightly on his briefcase. The feeling of impending danger crawled back. What was he planning? As the meeting adjourned, a swirl of voices filled the room: celebration, resolve, and deepening fears. Nora turned to Jake, eyes blazing but her heart sinking. "Did you see his face? What is he hiding?" Jake grimly shook his head. "We'll find out. Together." Their victory felt bittersweet, victory on the horizon, but a looming shadow still hovered over the diner. Would they truly be able to defend their sanctuary against whatever was coming? Nora's chest tightened with a fierce determination. She would not let Thompson's diner be erased. The battle was far from over, and she intended to fight for every last bite of what it represented. But before they could uncover the corporate man's plan, they received a mysterious phone call, one that threatened to expose secrets neither of them saw coming. What awaited them in the unraveling darkness? Nora was still shaking from the intensity of the meeting when the phone rang. The sound jolted her, almost echoing in the charged silence that followed the commotion. Jake glanced at her, both curiosity and trepidation painting his face. "Are you going to answer?" he asked softly, his breath slightly hitching with anticipation. She took a steadying breath, then swiped the screen to answer. "Hello." Her voice felt small, lost amidst the whirlwind of emotions still swirling inside her. "Nora?" A voice crackled through the line. It was unfamiliar, tense, carrying an urgency that made her pulse quicken. "You need to listen to me. This is serious." She exchanged a worried glance with Jake, who leaned in closer, his brow furrowing. "Who is this?" "Just someone who cares about what happens to that diner. I have information about the corporate man and his plans. You need to meet me." Nora's heartbeat raced. Everything about the call felt like a trap, but her instinct for survival nudged her forward. "Where? When?" "Tomorrow. At the park. It's safer to talk there. You won't be followed," the voice assured before hanging up abruptly. "Who was that? Do you trust them?" Jake asked, his concern palpable. Nora frowned, taking a moment to dwell on the puzzling call. "I don't know, but if they know something about the corporate man, we have to find out." "Okay, then we'll go together," Jake insisted as night fell. Nora tried to prepare herself for what lay ahead. She brewed a pot of coffee and stared blankly at the steam rising from the cup. Memories of late nights spent in the diner, laughter echoing amidst the clattering dishes, flooded back. She felt the weight of her memories, the responsibility she had to preserve them, pressing heavily on her shoulders. The next day dawned gray and overcast, ominous clouds swirling in the sky. Felt like a sign. Nora took one last glance at the diner as she and Jake made their way to the park. Each step felt like she was moving closer to the edge of an unknown precipice. Upon arriving, they spotted a figure sitting on a bench. The stranger was hunched over, wearing a dark hoodie that partially obscured their face. A sense of protectiveness surged within Nora. This fight was hers. She wouldn't risk anyone she cared about. Jake squeezed her hand. "You ready?" With a swift nod, she approached the stranger, her heart pounding. "You're the one who called?" The figure nodded cautiously, glancing around as if wary of being noticed. "I don't have a lot of time. You need to know that the corporate man is planning more than just shutting down your diner." "What do you mean?" Nora pressed, her voice barely above a whisper, urgency fueling her words. "His company has eyes on a larger land deal. They want to build a shopping center, and the diner is standing in their way. It's not just about a renovation or some festival." The shock hit her like a cold wave. "Why are you telling us this?" "Because there are people who care and who are willing to help. If you reach out to them, you may have a chance," the stranger said, lowering their voice even further. "They've faced similar battles. But you must act fast." Jake's grip on her hand tightened. "Who?" The stranger stood quickly, pulling the hood off their head to reveal a familiar face. It was Tom, the diner's old cook. Fear and determination flashed in his eyes. "But you need to promise me something. The moment he gets wind of this, he'll hit harder. You have to prepare for a fight." Nora's heart raced as the reality of Tom's warning sank in. The stakes had risen. It wasn't just the diner anymore. It was about the essence of their community, now swirled with a greater conspiracy looming beneath the surface. "Meet me tonight at the diner," Tom added, urgency twinging his words. "We'll gather more support. You weren't alone in this before, and you won't be alone now." As Tom melted back into the shadows of the park, Nora felt the simmering fire inside her reignite. But uncertainty lingered. Were they ready for this fight? She glanced at Jake, seeing the worry etched across his face. He met her gaze, and a flicker of resolve shone through his eyes. With a deep breath, Nora whispered, "We'll save our diner, Jake. But it's going to take everything we have." The weight of their new mission settled on their shoulders as they turned to leave the park, determination intertwining with the fear of the unknown. What further secrets lay buried in the corporate man's plans? And could Nora gather the allies they needed before time ran out? Nora took a deep breath, her heart pounding as they walked away from the park. The streets felt different today, each one leading her away from the safety of the past and towards an uncertain future. She could feel the weight of Tom's words hanging like a storm cloud in the air. There was so much at stake. Do you think he's right? Jake asked, his voice breaking the silence that surrounded them. Will people really want to help? I can't see why they wouldn't, she replied, even as doubt crept in. The diner has always been more than just a place to eat. It's a part of everyone's lives. But we have to show them how important it is. We have to unite them again just like we used to. Jake nodded, his expression serious. Okay, let us make a plan. They reached the diner, its neon sign still glowing even on the grayest of days. A beacon of hope amidst the looming crisis. Let us gather everyone who cares, she suggested, stepping inside. The familiar scent of coffee and fried food wrapped around her like a comforting embrace. But there was an undercurrent of tension. Nora grabbed a stack of napkins and a pen from behind the counter. We'll write down names and then I'll call everyone. The Buzzard Coffee regulars, the families who celebrate birthdays here. She paused, thinking hard. Tom might know others. Jake leaned over the counter, scribbling names as Nora paced, her mind racing. What if we made flyers? Something that explains what's at stake and asks for help? We can post them around town. That sounds good. Jake's eyes lit with enthusiasm, and Nora could see the spark of determination grow. This was how they would rally their community, how they'd turn fear into action. As they scribbled down ideas, they were joined by a trickle of familiar faces: Lily, the waitress who had first served her coffee, Dave, the musician who often played for tips, even Mrs. Jenkins, their most loyal customer, who once brought in her famous apple pie for the staff. Each one came bearing concern and love, ready to lend a hand. Within the hour, the small diner felt alive again. The tension pooling in their chests slowly transforming into hope. They shared stories, laughed in between somber moments, and most importantly, they plotted their next moves. Are we really doing this? Lily asked, voice barely above a whisper, but filled with excitement. Are we really gonna fight? We have to. Nora replied, her heart swelling with urgency. It's more than just the diner. It's about everything we've built together. We're going to show everyone that this place matters. As night fell, the diner glowed like a lighthouse in the dark, bustling with life and laughter. A stark contrast to the storm of the outside world. They made plans for the gathering, drawing on every connection they had, determined to stand up against the corporate giant. But as they prepared, Nora couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching them, that the enemy was already plotting its next move. A distant rumble of thunder echoed outside, sending a shiver down her spine. Are we ready for what's next? Jake asked, his voice laced with worry as if sensing her unease. We have to be, she replied, determination grounding her voice. If we don't stand together now, we risk losing everything. It's the only way. But just as Nora spoke, the door swung open and a figure stepped in. The air changed instantly. It was someone she didn't recognize, but the stern look on their face sent an icy fear coursing through the room. What are you all plotting here? The stranger charged, eyes scanning the diners with a predatory intensity. Nora's heart raced. Who was this person and how did they find them? The conversation halted, and now they were all sucked into a tense silence, bracing for what would come next. In this critical moment, did they truly have what it took to stand as one? Or would fear tear them apart just when they needed each other most? A thick silence enveloped the diner as everyone turned towards the stranger. Nora felt the weight of their stares. Fear mirrored in their eyes. She took a cautious step forward, her voice steadying herself. Who are you? The stranger, tall and broad-shouldered, gave a half-smirk. You can call me Frank, he said, folding his arms. But I'm more interested in what you're up to. He scanned the room, a predatory glint in his gaze. Jake stood protectively by Nora, his expression hardening. We're not up to anything illegal, if that's what you're implying. Oh, I'm sure you're all very law-abiding, Frank replied with a sharp laugh. But plotting against the big man? I'm afraid that'll come with a price. Nora clenched her fists. We're not the bad guys here. This diner means something to our community. We want to protect it. Frank chuckled, a low possessive sound. And what makes you think your little plan will work? People are just too focused on surviving these days. They won't care about some diner. Don't count them out so easily, Lily piped up, gaining courage. We've shared memories here, laughter, sadness. We've come together in hard times before. Frank's eyes narrowed, the smirk fading to a more serious expression. Memories won't pay the bills. And if you're planning to start a protest or whatever you're thinking, you'll be crushed. Trust me. Nora felt her breath hitch. She couldn't let fear take hold. What do you want, Frank? She asked, her voice carrying more bravery than she felt. Oh, I just want to make things interesting, he said casually, tapping a finger against his chin. Why should the corporate people have all the fun? Fun? Jake snapped, his voice rising. You think ruining lives is fun? Frank shrugged. You think fighting back will change anything? Maybe it's easier to just accept that your time is over. The room was charged with anger, but Nora stepped forward again, standing tall. We've faced obstacles before. We've fought. And we've won. You don't get to scare us into submission. Very noble, Frank shot back, an eyebrow raised. But talk is cheap, sweetheart. Let us see if you can stand that talk when the heat is on. Before Nora could respond, Frank turned on his heel and strode toward the door. The bell jingled behind him, a stark contrast to the heavy atmosphere left in his wake. Everyone stood in uneasy silence, the gravity of the situation sinking in. I can't believe this, Lily finally said, her hands trembling. What if he's right? Nora felt a rush of anger and determination surge through her. No, we can't let him win. We have to show him that this community is stronger than his threats. We can't doubt ourselves. But how? Dave asked, voice tight with anxiety. We need a strategy, something concrete. We need to be smart. Nora looked around at the faces that had filled her diner with laughter and love over the years. They were the foundation of what they were fighting for. We gather strength from each other. We can start a gathering. A festival, something to draw everyone in. We'll show them the heart and soul of this place. Jake nodded, the spark igniting in his eyes again. Yes, if we can pull people in, show them what they stand to lose, maybe Frank will see he has underestimated us. Exactly. Nora said, the plan crystallizing in her mind. We'll use Frank's threats as fuel. This will unify us. Eager excitement filled the room again as ideas began to flow, but uncertainty lingered at the edges of their minds. Could they really rally together against the looming threat? And just as laughter and camaraderie filled the air, a sudden loud crash echoed from outside, knocking the lights flickering. Everyone stopped, hearts racing as they turned towards the door. Nora's pulse quickened. What was happening now? Is it them? Jake whispered. What if they're back? Mrs. Jenkins trembled, clutching her bag tightly. Nora took a breath, standing tall. We're not backing down. Whatever it is, we face it together. But deep down, she knew this was only the calm before the real storm, and they had no idea what awaited them next. Would they be able to face whatever came through that door? The door burst open, and a chill swept through the diner. Shadows spilled in, distorting the warm light that flickered above. A group of men, rugged and imposing, stormed through the threshold, their eyes scanning the room with a fierce intensity. Nora's heart hammered against her ribs, the threat palpable in the air. Which one of you is Nora? The largest of the men barked, his voice slicing through the tense silence. Nora felt a wave of fear wash over her, but she pushed it down. I am. What do you want? Her voice shook slightly, but she stood her ground, channeling her determination. Jake stepped in closer to Nora, fists clenched. You have no business here. He shouted, the defiance in his words echoing off the diner's walls. The man chuckled darkly, a smirk creeping across his face. I was hoping to find you, sweetheart. Frank sent us. At that name the room seemed to freeze, the air thick with an unstable tension. Lily took a step back and whispered, what does he want? Simple. The man leaned against the counter, casually eyeing the unease dancing among the diners. Frank wants you to back off. He thinks you're causing too much trouble with your little festival, and well, let us just say he's not keen on anyone messing with his plans. I'm sorry, but we aren't scared of him, Nora retorted, raising her chin defiantly. We're standing our ground. Cute, the man replied, rolling his eyes. But this isn't about courage. It's about reality. You think you can pull off this festival? Frank's got a way of making sure those who oppose him don't see the light of day. Nora felt the eyes of her friends on her. Doubt rippled through her, but underneath it, a burst of indignation flared. Was this how it was going to be? Would they all just roll over and give up? Her voice rose, steady and clear. We're not going to give up our community for anyone. Not for you, not for Frank. Sounds like a death wish to me, the man said, his grin widening. But if you insist on being stubborn, then you better be prepared for what comes next. With a swift motion, he pulled a flyer out from his jacket, tossing it on the counter in front of her. It fluttered dangerously close to the edge. Consider this your warning. Frank doesn't play nice, and I'd hate to see what happens to those who defy him. Nora picked up the paper, her hands trembling slightly. It was a threat, clear and direct. The word consequences loomed large within the incoherent scrawl. Anger surged through her, flaring hot and bright. They thought they could intimidate her? Get out, she said, her voice low and unyielding. The men exchanged glances, surprised by her lack of fear. But they didn't move. Instead, the leader leaned in closer, an ominous gleam in his eye. We'll be back. Remember what I said. With that, the group strode out as quickly as they had arrived, their presence leaving a heavy void in the diner. Nora felt the room exhale, a collective breath held in fear finally released. What are we going to do now? Lily asked, her cheeks pale with worry. This is only getting worse. Nora took a deep breath, the fire still blazing within her. We fight back. We make this festival happen. We show Frank and anyone else who doubts us that this diner is our heart and soul. Together. Everyone nodded slowly, fierce determination growing amongst them. But deep down Nora was terrified. She felt the weight of the impending confrontation press down on her. They were in over their heads, but they couldn't turn back now. Then her phone buzzed, cutting through the brewing chaos. It was a message from an unknown number. Her stomach plummeted as she read it. I have information about Frank that could change everything. Meet me at the old cafe at midnight. Nora's palms went cold. Who could it be? Did they really have an advantage or another trap set up? Guys, she called out, holding up her phone. She had to make a choice, and it felt like it could change everything. Would trusting this stranger be the key to fighting back? Or was it yet another danger waiting to be unleashed? The diner was quiet again, tension simmering as they awaited her decision. Nora stared at the phone, her heart racing with uncertainty. The message pulsed in her hands. What do you think? Jake asked, bracing himself beside her, his worry evident. Should we meet them? She took a deep breath, collecting her thoughts. If Frank knows what we're planning, we need to be ahead of this. What if this person has insider information? Jake's eyes narrowed, causing a flicker of resolve to return. I trust you, Nora. If you think this is right, I'm with you. She nodded, her determination solidifying. The stakes were too high, and losing wasn't an option. They would have to face whatever came next. Let us gather a few people, Tom, Mrs. Hargrove, and anyone we can trust. We need to make sure we're not walking into a trap. As night crept in, the diner bustled with tense energy, everyone knowing the risks they were undertaking. Nora felt the weight of her community leaning on her shoulders. She couldn't bear the thought of letting them down. When the clock struck 12, she gathered with Jake, Tom, and Mrs. Hargrove outside the diner, the streetlights flickering above them like stars guiding their path. Are we really doing this? Tom asked, anxiety creasing his brow. We've already got enough trouble from Frank's crew. Yes, but this could give us leverage, Nora replied, her voice steady despite her unease. If we can find out what he's really planning, we might just turn the tide in our favor. The others nodded, emboldened by her confidence. They made their way to the old cafe, the building now dilapidated, yet holding echoes of better days. As they stepped inside, the musty air carried a mix of hope and fear. Their tired hearts beat in eager anticipation. Nora's phone buzzed, a fresh wave of nerves washing over her. The stranger awaited them in the far corner, a hooded figure shrouded in shadows. Are you Nora? Came a gravelly voice. We don't have much time. That's me, she replied, trying to mask her apprehension with courage. And you are? I'm Grayson, the figure said, glancing around suspiciously. Frank's underestimated you, but he won't make the same mistake twice. You've stirred the pot, and now he's ready to use force. But I can help. What do you know? Murmured Jake, stepping protectively closer to Nora. Frank's got connections that run deeper than you realize. He's planning to take more than just the diner. He wants to control the entire block, displace businesses, and build a commercial complex. Grayson leaned forward, his voice urgent. I've got a plan, but it requires every bit of support you can muster. Nora's heart raced, processing the enormity of Frank's ambitions. This was no longer just about the diner. What do we need to do? Grayson quickly outlined their plan. Use your festival as a cover for a larger rally. We'll gather the community, but not just for fun. Let us create a movement. Spread the word that this is about saving their homes and businesses. Draw in as much media attention as you can. The clarity of his message ignited something deep within Nora. Yes, we can showcase everything this diner represents. It's about resilience, community, and family. The fire in her voice resonated with everyone present, emboldening them. But we'll need protection, Tom cautioned. Frank won't take kindly to this. Nora turned to Jake, sensing his wary gaze. We have to stand together. If we focus on the people, on our community's heart, then we won't be crushed. She felt their resolve swell as they started to hash out strategies. Minutes turned to hours as they plotted, each whisper weaving threads of unity, steadily reinforcing what they were fighting for. When they stepped out of the cafe, dawn greeted them with a golden glow, illuminating their path forward. Back at the diner, they solidified every detail of their plan. Flyers were created, written in bold letters. Join the battle for Thompson's Diner. Our community, our passion. As the sun rose high, a sense of camaraderie lit up their faces. Days passed leading to the festival, excitement buzzing in the town as people flowed in, drawn by the promise of celebration and community. Nora welcomed families, friends, and strangers alike, each person embodying the spirit of Thompson's Diner. They gathered, shared laughter, and told stories, a chorus of voices enveloping them in warmth. But as the sun began to dip, Nora felt the tension bubble beneath her skin. Frank's shadow loomed large, and she knew they had antagonized him. Was he about to retaliate? Just as she turned to speak to Jake, a booming voice cut through the celebration. What's going on here? Nora's gaze snapped to the crowd, her heart plummeting as she spotted Frank, flanked by his imposing crew. You really thought you could rally people against me? His sneer echoed through the festival's cheer, extinguishing the momentary joy. But instead of faltering, Nora felt the pulsing energy surround her. Yes, and they're not afraid of you, she called out, sparking a surge of defiance from the gathered crowd. The realization dawned it wasn't just about the diner anymore. This was a fight for their lives, their homes. The community rallied, voices rising in unison. We stand together, they declared, fiercer than any storm. And in that moment, Nora felt the transformation wash over her like the morning sun breaking through the shadows. They would not be quieted. They would not back down. With courage burning bright, she stood alongside her neighbors, knowing this was only the beginning of their fight together. With love and support, they could create a movement strong enough to shatter Frank's threats. Are you ready to stand with us? She called to the crowd. Together, they roared back, a unified anthem echoing through the essence of what Thompson's Diner truly represented. And as the battle lines were drawn, Nora realized that hope indeed was the strongest weapon of all. The stakes were high, but would their love for the diner and each other be enough to turn the tide in a world so prone to greed? Only time would tell, but they were ready for whatever came next, and now you need to be ready too. Subscribe immediately to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Seriously, it makes a difference. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Comment below your reactions and feelings about the ending. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.